going to be a very exciting video for you guys. Today is going to be the part 2 to ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in the year of 2021, and today's video is going to be my top 10 palettes that I tried this year. These are the best of the best, my favorite formulas, my favorite brands. Most of these brands are new to me. There are quite a few brands that I tried that I just fell in love with the formula. And also, I'm changing my ranking for 10 and 9 constantly. But I'm pretty much set on this ranking now. So I can't wait to share with you guys what my top 10 picks were this year. And if you guys can guess what number 1 is, let me know. Put it in the comments before you watch the video all the way through. I would love to see if you would pick or guess what my top favorite would be. Just telling you it's not ColourPop, because I filmed my entire ranking of all the ColourPop palettes I tried this year in a separate video. So if you guys want to see what my top pick was for my favorite ColourPop palette this year, it's not going to be included in this video, and none of the palettes are going to be included in this video that I tried from ColourPop, because I tried 13 palettes. So we would have been ranking them forever, and I already have a part 1 to ranking all my palettes this year. So let's jump right into it. I just wanted to mention this palette first before we get into my top 10, because I did try this palette at the end of 2021, and this is the Dior Backstage Eye Palette. I've only tried this once. I just wanted to give it a mention that I did try this palette the last week of 2021, and this is the Warm Neutrals palette. I'm not technically really ranking it. I'm just mentioning a quick review about it. I really liked how this performed so far, but I can't really give it a true ranking without testing it out fully. It's different for me and ColourPop palettes because I know ColourPop's formula, but so far I'm really impressed with the smoothness of the mattes in here, and the shimmer was very smooth and easy to work with. Very pretty on the lid. I feel like that this is a beautiful everyday warm toned eyeshadow palette, and you guys know I love these tones and I love warm toned eyeshadows. And I've been curious about trying the Dior Backstage eyeshadow formula for a long time, and I finally just decided to pick this up, and it was the last one that was in my Sephora, so I just wanted to mention it really quick. I'm still testing it out. I will have a first impressions on this up, I believe, before this video goes up, so if you want to check out my thoughts and everything about it, just watch that video. But I didn't really feel right including it, and I really just wanted it to be my top 10. So it's technically my top 13, actually my top 12, because I'm including 3 palettes in one ranking, or one spot, I mean. So let's just jump right into it. So number 10 was a new brand to me this year, and this is the Nabla Side by Side Nude palette. This was definitely one of my favorite neutral palettes of the year. I'm ranking it a little bit lower than I initially did, because I'm not crazy about some of the shimmers in here, but the mattes are absolutely gorgeous and they blend out beautifully, super rich and smooth. I actually haven't really used this palette though in quite a while, but when I actually do pick this up and use it, it's beautiful. As you guys can see, I've used it quite a bit. But also, the shimmers are pretty messy in this palette. It kind of looks like a used and abused palette, but I honestly haven't really used it as much as it actually looks like. But I have used it quite enough to tell you guys that I really like it. The shimmers in here are beautiful and intense, and the mattes are just, these are the perfect mattes for me to create any neutral look. I love how you have warm tone mattes, some cooler tone brown mattes, some grays and blacks, a matte white brow bone highlight, which is perfect for me to pair with any look for this palette for my brow bone. And then you have these beautiful shimmers here. I love all 3 of these shimmers, and I love cedar wood. The only reason why this is ranking lower is because of these 2 shades here, Body and Soul and Magic Moment. I don't find them to be pigmented enough for me on the lid because every other shade in here is super pigmented and buttery and blendable. But just like the more sheer shimmers, I'm not absolutely in love with, but their regular metallic shimmers are beautiful. So I really love this gold shade right here. I mean, Nabla has a really intense, smooth, wet formula, and they're just beautiful. There's absolutely no flakiness whatsoever as compared to some brands like ColourPop. I'm just going to swatch a couple of them for you guys. But this was the first time I finally tried Nabla for myself, and I kept on going back and forth about this palette, and then I just decided to try it, and I'm like, wow, it's super smooth, just beautiful. One of the best neutral palettes that came out. I believe it came out this year. It might have came out very early this year, but Nabla really hasn't had too many releases this year, but this is the first time I've tried anything from Nabla. I did try a couple of other products from them this year, and so far I've been so impressed with everything that I tried. So the gold is Paradiso, the middle one is Bonjour, and then the brown is Tempera. Really beautiful. Can't really say anything else about it. I just think that this is a perfect neutral palette for anyone that is trying out Nabla. I highly suggest this one. It's beautiful, and I think their formula is bomb. So that is number 10, which is still a pretty high spot for me because, again, I tried a lot of palettes this year. I think I tried like 21 palettes. So if you want to check out my 11 through 20, I will link part 1 below. So that is number 10. Okay, number 9 is near and dear to my heart. Very, very special collaboration that came out this year with my dear friends here on YouTube. And number 9 is the Gourmand Girls Cosmetics That Time of Year palette. And this is in collaboration with Debutante, Adventures of Xenia, and The Brutally Honest Beauty. I absolutely love these girls to death. I won't rant about them too long. I just wanted to say how near and dear to my heart this collaboration is. And I also absolutely love Christina, the owner of Gourmand Girls Cosmetics. And I wanted to share how much I love this palette. They really killed it with this palette, you guys. They really created a palette that was actually not just a beautiful color story for Christmas time, not just a beautiful winter palette, but something that worked for everybody. And that is very hard to do with, first of all, 3 different YouTubers, because they all have different styles of makeup and eyeshadow and colors that they love and colors that they love wearing. But they nailed it. And I think that they still captured their individual styles of makeup and colors that they love to wear, but made it a cohesive, beautiful color story. And I just think this palette's amazing. The quality in here is probably the best that Gourmand Girls has ever done. I mean, granted, I've only tried the Exquisite palette and this, but the reason why this one's ranking much higher than the Exquisite palette is because I've used this one a lot more than that one, and I gravitate a lot more to this one than the Exquisite palette. I love that this is a 15-pan palette. I really do gravitate towards 15-pan palettes way more than normal, like, smaller palettes or bigger palettes. And the duochromes in here are absolutely stunning. The shimmers are beautiful. The mattes are so pigmented and blendable. And just every look that I've made with this palette, I've just loved and fallen in love with. And I just adore these girls so much. So I'm a bit biased, but honestly, if this was just a Gourmand Girls palette, I would still love it just as much as if it wasn't a collaboration palette. I think that they knocked it out of the park with this. And there's some beautiful shades in here. Cherry's Jubilee seems to be one of the favorite mattes in this palette. It really is the most versatile shade. You can use it to blend out anything, to deepen up anything. It is a gorgeous matte, rich red. And I'll just swatch a couple of other shades because I don't want to spend forever talking about every palette, or we'll be here for 10 million years. But those are just some of the shades for you guys. Just beautiful, Such a smooth formula. So that one is some of the shades. So this one is Cherry's Jubilee, this one is Snow Angel, and this one is the Feels. I mean, look how beautiful and smooth they are. I mean, they absolutely killed it. Such a beautiful winter release. One of the best Christmas releases in December. And I think it's beautiful. And I could swatch this palette forever. I'm just going to swatch one of the greens to show you guys how pigmented these are. I mean, they are just stunning. I mean, that's a Christmas look right there. Christmas. Cherry's Jubilee on the lower lash line and the green in the crease with the Feels in the lid and this on the inner corners. Gorgeous. But yes, this palette, oh, I got a swatch Icicle for you guys. This shade is phenomenal. It is so multi-dimensional. Like, honestly, you don't know how multi-dimensional these are until you put them on your eyes. Like, it's not really going to pick up on my really crappy lighting, but it is such a beautiful shade. That's Icicle right there. So that is the number 9 favorite palette of 2021 is the Gourmand Girls palette. And I love it. I really do. So I'm just going to put that one away. So that one is number 9. Okay, so now on to number 8. Now, this is a new brand to me that basically everybody here on my small little YouTube community of friends told me to try, and I finally decided to try them, and this was the first palette that I tried from this brand this year. And number 8 is the Odin's Eye Freesia Diva palette. Oh my god, you guys, I realize why everybody loves, why everybody loves Odin's Eyes cosmetics so much. They are just amazing, and their formula is gorgeous. Like, one of the best eyeshadow formulas I've ever tried in my life. That's how good this is. And if you guys didn't know how much I love warm tone shadows, this is one of the best warm tone palettes I've ever used before. The mattes are just, there's something about their matte formula that is so smooth and pigmented. I don't know how they do it, but their mattes are just as amazing as their shimmers. And their shimmers are just super opaque, beautiful, blinding, sparkly without being glittery, but just being sparkly and beautiful on the lids. Like, this palette is gorgeous. The only reason why this is ranking a bit lower than the other palettes that I mentioned is that I find that I struggle a little bit with deepening up looks because some of these shades aren't quite deep enough for me. Like, these two matte browns almost end up looking the same. The only thing I probably would have changed about this palette is probably taking out this shade and maybe replace it with like a deeper dark chocolate brown. Then this would have been absolutely perfect for me. But the shimmers in here are stunning and the formula is amazing, and that's why it's ranking so high. So just so beautiful. Like, their shimmers are so smooth, and some of the ones with glitter, oh my god, just beautiful. So I'm just gonna swatch some of them for you guys. So there are some of the shades. So that one is, actually, I'll just point to the shades that I swatched because they're all in, like, I believe are they a Swedish brand? Wow, Caitlin, I think I forgot. Wow, that's a piece of tape from shipment from work. I believe they're a Swedish brand, so they're all Swedish names, but I will tell you guys what the shade names, what the shades are that I swatched. But look how beautiful those are. This is one of the mattes, one of the shimmers with sparkle, and this is like a true shimmer, and this is one of the mattes. I mean, they're beautiful. So the bottom one is this peach shade right here. This like beautiful warm peach. The middle one right there is this one right here. And then the matte shade I swatched was, I believe this color right here, but they're just beautiful. Honestly, if you haven't tried Odin's Eye yet, and if you're thinking about trying them, I would say don't hesitate. I believe that this palette is actually finally discontinued. There was like a thing going on where they had said that they were going to discontinue this palette in like June, and that's why I had picked it up initially because I was so back and forth about getting this palette, and then they had said that they were going to discontinue it. So I was like, okay, I should pick it up. And I actually got it at half price because they were discounting it because I thought that because they said that they were discontinuing it. So I actually got it for a really good price. And then it went back to full price like 2 weeks later. And then they didn't discontinue it until like November of December this past year. So that was a little bit weird. But if you got your hands on it and you enjoy warm tone eyeshadows, I highly suggest trying this palette because you can't go wrong with Odin's Eye. They're raved about for a reason. Their formula is absolutely beautiful. So that one is number 8. Now moving on to number 7. This shot up all the way up on my list already. And this is the most recent palette that I tried on this list. I actually need to test out one more shade, but I already know I love it because I've used it on the inner corners and it's so beautiful that I'm like, I already know I love this palette. And I've tried the majority of the palette to know that I love it. And number 7 is they are now called Unearthly Cosmetics, but I'm going to call it the Alien Cosmetics Fall Magic Palette. So originally, I wasn't sure if I was going to get this palette. It was actually on a pre-order, I believe, in the middle of the beginning of November, and I didn't receive it, I think, until like the first week of December. So it gave me a little bit more time to try some other palettes, see what I thought of them. But then I pre-ordered this palette because I kept on staring at it and I thought it was so pretty. And this was actually like the second pre-order that they did after the palette had sold out the first time. And I was like, let me just try it out. This does still have the Alien Cosmetics logo on it because this was I think this was the last palette they made with Alien Cosmetics on it. And now they are called Unearthly Cosmetics. So I was waiting to see if there was a color story from Alien that I was going to be interested in trying, or one that I would think that I would use a lot. There's something in my teeth that's driving me crazy. This is the Fall Magic palette. I mean, look how beautiful this is, you guys. I love that there's more mattes than shimmers in here, but these shimmers are absolutely stunning. And I absolutely love this color story. Like, you have some beautiful neutral tones. You have like this really good matte grounding brown for any shade. You have like this olivey toned brown. You have like this darker olivey toned brown. You have a purple. You have a couple purples and pinks and greens. And then you have these gorgeous purple and gold and green shimmers. I think that all of these colors work so beautifully together. I think that this is one of the most stunning color stories that has come out this year. But the formula is so amazing. The mattes are so pigmented and buttery and smooth and blendable. And the shimmers are just so intense and blinding that I'm like, I already knew from the first time I tried this palette. I'm like, this palette is gorgeous. And now I understand why everybody raves about them. But again, I was waiting to see if there was a color story that I wanted to get. And I would think I would use a lot because some of their other color stories are very colorful. And I'm like, I feel like this was the one. And I'm so happy I picked up this one because it's stunning. So let me swatch some of the shades for you guys. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. So we have Earth, Change, and Cashmere. And the reason why Change is so beautiful, you probably won't see it on camera, is that I love that they made it a duochrome because it's like supposed to be like the changing of the leaves, and I love that they like made it a duochrome because then you can see that it changes color. I just think that's so freaking awesome. And I was like, I feel like that's a lot of attention to detail. So this one is Earth, this one is Change, and then this one is Cashmere. Change is like a glittery shimmer, and then Cashmere is the only true regular shimmer in the palette, but they're not glitters. They're just like shimmers with glitter. And I could swatch this palette all day, but I'm just saying that this palette is so gorgeous. And if you guys want to check out my review on it, I do have a full first impressions of it. But I was just blown away by the quality and the formula of this. And I'm so glad that I got this palette because it is stunning. Okay, so now we're getting into number 6. So number 6 was a earlier release that came out around March of this year. Unfortunately, this palette is no longer available. But it was restocked a couple of times for, because the demand was so high for it. And number 6 is the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette, which is the Angelica Nyquist collaboration palette. I absolutely love this palette, you guys. The quality of this palette is one of the best I've ever tried for eyeshadow, period. Kaleidos' quality, especially with colorful mattes, is literally unmatched. I would say Kaleidos and Odin's Eye, best colorful mattes I've ever tried this year. There's something about the mattes in here, and the shimmers are just as great. Was I holding it upside down? I need to show you guys the beautiful packaging first. Look at that gorgeous packaging. Like, come on. I wish that this palette was still available. I hope that you guys got your hands on it when it was available. I was so back and forth on getting this palette, and then I picked it up, and then I was like, I am so glad that I did, because of course it ranked so high on my list. I was just blown away by the quality of this palette. Angelica created a stunning color story. This ranked high for a lot of people this year, for Makeup Just for Fun, for Beaute Bean, for Kat's video, if you want to check out her top 10. This made my top 10 too, girl. This palette is amazing, you guys. And just, she created such a beautiful color story, and the colors just work so well together. And this was really the palette that made me like jump into different color combinations this year that I would never think to put together, because Angelica is so good at doing that with her eyeshadow. I mean, her eyeshadow looks are incredible. Some of the best color combos I've ever seen, but her looks are just stunning. But the way that she puts colors together is amazing. And I just could not think of anybody better to create a palette with Kaleidos than Angelica, because they absolutely nailed this. I also love that there's more mattes than shimmers, but I also love all these deep, dark shimmers, like this quad of dark mattes right here. Just gorgeous and so richly pigmented, and the shimmers are beautiful and stunning. They're a little bit sheer, but very sparkly and just beautiful and reflective on the eyes. And then I also love these like warm tone mattes down here, and then like this orangey shimmer, and then the blue in the center. Oh my god, it's just such a wonderful palette, you guys. But I just need to swatch some of these mattes for you. Like, literally some of the richest pigment I've ever seen for any eyeshadow. So this one is Void, and this one is Cylon. And also, they are incredibly smooth. And these are not easy colors to do for eyeshadow. So this one is Void, and this one is Cylon. And then I'm going to swatch that beautiful... Oh my god. That is so stunning. That beautiful blue in the center is called Astro. Oh, it's so pretty. So that one is Astro right there. Again, I could swatch it for forever. But this Kaleidos palette and the Alien palette, like my favorite palettes that I've tried, color story wise, I think that they are the most beautiful color stories that have come out this year. But she absolutely nailed this. And it's just a wonderful collaboration. I don't have anything else to say about it because I feel bad talking about it for too long because you can't get it anymore. But honestly, like, there's so many different possibilities to create color combos with this. Like, you can do a blue look, you can do an orange look, you can do orange and purple, you can do red and purple, you can do green and blue, you can do green and purple. Like, there's so many different looks that you can do with this. And it's just Beautiful. I love it so much. I do have a few videos using this palette, and I absolutely love it, and I think that she nailed it. It's just such, Kaleidos has such a wonderful formula. They are raved about for a reason. Their formula is fantastic. So definitely loved this palette. So that one is number 6. So now let's get into the top 5. So can you guys guess what my top 5 would be? I'll give you a little bit to type something. Number 5 number 5 and number 4 are the only brands that weren't new to me this year. The top 3 were all new brands to me this year. Number 5 is the Glamlite Red Velvet Palette. Now, granted, this palette is not very red toned, but the formula of this palette is why this is ranking so high. You guys know how much I love Glamlite's formula. I tried 3 palettes from Glamlite last year, and I fell in love with the brand. I was so hesitant to pick up anything from them. I was like, I bet if I pick up anything from Glamlite, I'm going to fall in love with them. And I did. But I think that this is the best formula that they've done. And this was like the first palette that they came out with in 2021. They didn't jam releases down our throats like they did in Christmas. After Christmas, they took like a 5-month break. And then this was the first palette they came out with. And when I first saw it, I'm like, where's the red? Like, if you cover up these 2 shades, it's not really a red velvet palette. I wish that they would have just called this, like, the pink cupcake palette or something. I don't know, like, just the cupcake palette. That would have made more sense, but they decided to call it the red velvet palette. But these colors and this formula is so good. The mattes are so pigmented and buttery smooth and blendable. And the shimmers are so good. I actually think that these are the best shimmers that they've done. I don't know about the other palettes that they came out with this year, which wasn't that many. It was only the Michaela palette and collection, and then like the Slurpee collection, and then that Martini collection, like the bar collection. So I don't know about those palettes, but I would think that they would have the same formula as this one. And I don't know what they did with their formula this year, but it is literally phenomenal. I just don't know what it is about this formula that I love so much, but it's gorgeous. So that one is cream cheese, and it's such an intense shimmer. Look at that. Look at how intense that is next to the alien. I mean, the alien's still intense, but look at how much that one reflects. And they're so smooth, super sparkly shimmers. That one is Dazzling. This is also one of my favorite shades in the palette. It's just beautiful. Look at that. So smooth. And then this red velvet, the best red shadow I've ever used, hands down. It is so smooth and pigmented. Look at that. Like, come on, Glamlite. Like, what are you doing? Like, your formula is so amazing. So I really loved the looks that I created out of this palette. I thought that it was a cohesive palette, even though I didn't think it was exactly red velvet. I still think that the colors in here are beautiful. You can create some really beautiful purple looks with some of these purples here. You can use some of the reds with the purple, and I honestly fell in love with that color combo this year. After I used this palette, I didn't think those 2 colors could go together, and they're so beautiful together. And then you can do pink with the neutral, like, lighter tones and use, like, this pink here or the lilac. Or you can use the cream cheese with the nude matte brown. Oh my god, there's so many things on my mind right now. I'm trying to focus on finishing this video. But it's just beautiful. I love this. And if you haven't tried Glamlite, this is the palette for you. If you don't love the bulky packaging, I would highly suggest this palette because I love how small this is, and I think a lot of people responded to that, and they started to make much smaller palettes this year and more palettes with like the square pans. But this is just adorable, and I love the aesthetic, the packaging, the attention to detail, everything about Glamlite. It's just so much fun. They make makeup fun for me and for the average consumer or anyone that's trying Glamlite for the first time. It's just a fun brand. So that's why they shot up to number 5. I don't know if it's just because of the foodie packaging and because I'm such a foodie myself and I particularly love sweets. But I also am very partial to cupcakes. They're some of my favorite sweets to eat. So, but yes, I would still rank it probably that high. It was just amazing formula-wise. Okay, so number 4. Shot up really fast. And this was a lot of people's top pick for eyeshadow this year. Or I mean for an eyeshadow palette besides the Club Nebula. And number 4 is the Natasha Denona Retro Palette. Now, I have loved Natasha Denona's formula for a while, like probably for a couple of years at this point. The first palette I had tried from Natasha Denona was the Gold palette. And the reason why this is ranking so high is because of the formula. Natasha Denona knows how to do eyeshadow, and these are beautiful on the eyes. The cream to powder formula, I really love for some of the matte shades in here. It is the smoothest cream to powder formula I've ever used, and it is so pigmented and velvety, you can't even tell it's a cream. It just like sticks better and is more pigmented than a regular matte shade like Nude Mauve or MOD. I also love this pop of warm tones in here. I mean, you guys know how much I love warm toned eyeshadow. It's some of my favorite to wear, if not my favorite to wear. And some of the shimmers in here are just beautiful, but the only reason why this is not my top pick is because the top 3 are formulas I was just blown away by, but also because the color story is gorgeous. I love these grungy tones with the pinks and the warm tones and some of these beautiful pink shades, but there's just not enough pink in here for me to say that this was my top palette this year. Because if you cover up these 2 shades or these 3 shades, you get a neutral palette. So I just think that was a little bit deceiving on Natasha Denona's part. I know that these are complementary berry tones, but when I bought this palette, I thought it was going to be berry tones. But it's really not. I mean, yes, there's some beautiful pink shimmers in here, but I kind of wish she took this shade out of here and put like an icy pink shade, like similar to this color, but just in a matte. And I would have loved this palette. Not that I already don't love it, because there's some beautiful color combos you can do, like the red and the green mattes. So beautiful together with like this in the crease and this on the lid, like this silver cool tone color. Or you can do the warm colors with like these 5 shades. So pretty. You can do like the pinks with the nude shades. You can do the pinks with the green. But like literally this like matte olivey green shade is the only shade that you have to deepen up looks besides the red. And the red is really pretty with some of these looks too. I'm not saying this isn't a gorgeous color story. I'm not saying this is like probably the most beautiful release that she came out with this year, and that's why I picked it up. I was also very curious to try the formula this year because I know that she's improved it quite a lot. Not to say it wasn't gorgeous to begin with, but I was just really drawn to this palette. I thought it was beautiful, and that's why I tried it. So, but I'm just saying, if you were expecting it to be a berry tone palette, it's still gorgeous. Like, they swatch incredibly smooth. So this one is psychedelic, this one is jade, and this one is groove. I don't even know where to swatch these. I'm kind of running out of room. But I think you guys could see the pigmentation anyway. So that one is Jude right there. This one is psychedelic. And this one is groove. So some really beautiful shades. A little bit flaky with the shimmers, but there's so many good different versatile formulas in here that you can actually try a good array of Natasha Denona's formulas in this palette. Like, there's several cream to matte shadows. There's her regular matte formula. There's her shimmer formula with these 3 shades or 4 shades. And then you have her intense sparkle shades. So I don't know if you guys could even see that. Her intense sparkle shades, her regular shimmers, her mattes, and her cream to powder mattes. So really beautiful. Not any complaints about the formula. I just struggle with deepening up looks sometimes because I'm kind of limited with this green and this red. But other than that, the formula is stunning. And I still highly suggest this palette if you were looking at it or you were debating it. I would pick it up during like Sephora's next VIB sale if you were still eyeing this because it's beautiful. And Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath make the best high-end formulas out there, hands down. But so does Dior now, so I am definitely a Dior fan too. But yeah, this was number 4. Okay, you guys, so let's get into my top 3 picks this year. So number 3 isn't technically a like pre-made palette, but this was my favorite singles brand that I tried this year, and I was impressed with the formula so much that I wanted to mention it in this video. Usually I mention single shadows separately and give them a separate shout out, but I built my own custom palette with this brand. It's just not in like typical eyeshadow palette pans because they do sell them like that, but usually they're palettes that come like empty palettes with the pans are usually always sold out. So number 3 is Lethal Cosmetics eyeshadows. Oh my god, you guys, now I realize why people rave about Lethal Cosmetics so much. Their formula is absolutely stunning, and I am obsessed with the shimmers and the mattes in here. The mattes are so buttery smooth and beautiful, and the shimmers are so smooth. Like, every single shade in here is so smooth and pigmented. And usually, again, with more pigmented mattes and shimmers, they're a little bit rougher. But to the touch, and when you blend them out on your eyes and when you're using the mattes, they are so, so smooth and blendable. Like, literally amazing. And I'm sorry if I can't name any of these shades for you guys because literally once you put these in the palettes, they are not coming out. I could not get this out from with my fingers to save my life. So, because they are in there. They are not coming out. So I had tried 5 shimmers and 7 mattes. And I got some really nice deepening mattes and some pinks and some neutral browns. And I feel like I can create any look that I would want to wear on an everyday basis. But these are the colors that I would wear the most. And they are just so stunning. Their shimmers are so intense and smooth and beautiful. Oh my god. So pretty, you guys. Absolutely love Lethal's formula. They kill it with their formula. So that one is like that bronzy shimmer, and that one's like the goldish antique-y one. And then I'll swatch some of the mattes for you guys. I'm kind of getting tired now. I don't know what else to say, but I'm just saying, like, these are so rich and beautiful. And basically everything I tried from Lethal this year, I was so impressed with. And then those are some of the mattes for you guys. That's like that yellow toned matte brown, and that's like the neutral tone matte brown. But I had so many people pushing me to try Lethal, Odin's Eye, Alien, all of those brands this year, and they ranked so high for me for a reason, because they are just phenomenal. I also tried their face products, beautiful, but like everything from this brand is so gorgeous. They are pricey, but they're worth it because their formula is amazing. So I am so glad I tried them this year, and that's why they ranked at number 3. And I've used these a ton, actually. I keep on reaching for them because they're so good. And that's how I know that I love a brand. So that one's number 3. And this was also a pre-order that was supposed to come like beginning of September. It came like mid-August. That's how fast indie brands are at shipping. So I got to try it a lot earlier. I actually think I tried this like 2 days before my birthday. Or maybe, like 2 days before my birthday. And I loved it. And that was kind of my birthday present to myself. Okay, so number 2. This didn't quite beat out my number 1 pick this year. Just because for my number 1 pick, they are much more affordable. But number 2 is actually a collection of palettes. And I think you guys know what I'm going to be talking about. And again, I cannot believe I was not going to pick all of these up, because I am so impressed with how amazing these palettes are. And number 2 is the Oden's Eye Legendary Diversa collection. I mean, they absolutely killed it with this. Like, the formula, the packaging, the color stories, everything was just amazing. First off, I need to shout out my girl Tina. She is one of my inspirations for makeup. I have watched her channel for years at this point. I am so beyond proud of her, and I'm so happy she has a palette with one of her favorite brands. She absolutely killed it with this. Judy, I don't really watch as often, but this palette is beautiful and is definitely my style of eyeshadows because it's a beautiful warm tone palette. And then Annette's Makeup Corners palette. I have fallen in love with Annette's channel this year. I watched so many of her videos, and I really wanted something that Annette had collaborated with this year, and she was able to have the opportunity to have 2 collaborations this year, but I'm definitely more gravitated towards this color story as opposed to the other palette she came out with this year from Makeup Menagerie. That is another brand on my list to try. So there's going to be some new brands this year as well. But if I would have to rank these together, like rank them separately in the number 2 spot, but tell you guys which one's my favorite to my least favorite. Not that they're not all amazing, but I would say this one would be number 3. This one would be number 2, and this one would be number 1. So we're going to talk about the Hummingbird palette first. So the reason why this one is ranking lower is just because it's a little bit, she definitely made this a fun, beautiful, gorgeous color story. Nothing wrong with the colors that she picked. It's just gorgeous. It's beautiful. I just find it's a little bit more difficult to create looks with this palette, but it's supposed to be a companion palette. And for me, I just don't use companion shimmers as much as like shimmers in a palette. That's just my personal preference. I'm not saying that this wouldn't be an absolute stunning companion palette for anyone that wants to try just indie brand shimmers, because I think that you should definitely 100% get this palette if you're thinking that. But the formula and I'm not going to rant about these for forever, but the formula, the pigmentation, the quality, the blendability, the smoothness is just amazing with Oden's Eyes quality. It's just phenomenal. So I'm just going to swatch a couple of shades in here. And I love that they put a duochrome or multi-chrome in. They're not duochromes, they're multi-chromes in each palette. So you guys could try their beautiful multi-chrome formula. But they're just gorgeous. So there are some of the shades for you guys. That one is Fancy. That's the multi-chrome. You're not really going to be able to see it that well. That one is Tropics. Oh my god, so beautiful, smooth and metallic. And that one is Star Apple. But like, just as soon as you apply them to your eyes, they are so incredibly pigmented and easy to use. Like, they make color easy to use. And that's what I've said before about Glam Light, but I feel like Oden's Eye does it even better, and that's why they ranked even higher. And I cannot believe that this was my first year trying Odin's Eye, and now I understand why everybody loves it. But she created a stunning palette, and I love this one. But I also love pairing it with the Red Dragon or the Giant Wolves for the mattes in there, because they create some beautiful looks. Okay, so the next one is Judy's palette, which is the Red Dragon palette. This was the Hummingbird palette, if I didn't say that already. And this is actually the only palette that I have reached for since I tested out all of the shades in each palette. I've used this quite a few times after I tested out all of these shades in every palette to tell you guys how much I liked it or not. Because I always try to test out every shade in every palette for you guys, because obviously that's what I'm here for. But this is just stunning. This one actually has the most mattes out of all three of the palettes. I kind of wish that there was one more shimmer in here, and that's the only reason why I'm ranking it just a tiny bit lower than the number one, is because I wish that there was probably like one other shimmer in here. I don't know what, but the selection of shades is absolutely gorgeous in here. Such a beautiful warm tone palette. The best warm tone palette I tried this year, besides my number one pick, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But this shade, Luna, is my favorite shade out of all three of the palettes. And then this one is Solar Flare, which is a stunning gold. The reason why Luna is my favorite, you're not going to be able to see it. It picks up so many different colors. It's the multi-chrome, and this one is Solar Flare. That's not a great swatch of Solar Flare because it's such a stunning gold shade. Probably going to see it better on my finger. Yeah, that's definitely better. Look how pigmented that is. It's such a gorgeous gold, and you guys know how much of a sucker I am for gold. Probably say that in every single eyeshadow palette video that has a gold shade in a palette. But the reason why Luna is so gorgeous is because it reflects like red and gold and green like in person, but you're not going to see it on camera, but on your eyes it is stunning. And then I'm just going to swatch one of the mattes. I'm just going to do like the signature shade Dragon. It's such a gorgeous like orangey red, but it kind of is a little bit darker when you wear it. I'm pretty sure I've worn this shade. Why do I feel like I haven't worn it? Probably because it's so pigmented, but I think I've worn it like once or twice. I mean, she just killed it with this, and I absolutely love this warm tone neutral palette, but it's not really that neutral. It's like a neutral palette with a twist, and it's gorgeous. The formula on these are super smooth and amazing. And then my favorite one out of the three is Annette's Makeup Corner's Giant Wolves palette. This palette is just stunning, you guys. Like, I didn't think I was going to love this one as much as I did, but I absolutely love the greens, the purples, the blue, the pink, the beautiful shimmers, the purpley shimmers, the multi-chrome, this stunning gold, and this shade, Astral. But I love that there's some deepening mattes in here, and the black can just deepen up any look. God, my neck is hurting now. Oh, I'm almost done. But it's just gorgeous, and I think that she absolutely nailed it with this. And just these colors are just phenomenally beautiful. Phenomenally beautiful. So there are some of the shades for you guys. Yeah, I'm running out of room. But they're just so beautiful. So there are some of the shades for you guys. So we have Antipode, Flare, and Eternal. And again, like, these are not going to pick up on camera. Eternal is the multi-chrome. You have to see these in person and swatch them yourselves to see how beautiful they are. I know that a lot of people say that to get you to buy it, but honestly, I mean, actually, this palette is actually completely sold out, and so is the Red Dragon. So I hope you guys got your hands on it. The only one that is still available in really low stock is the Hummingbird. From the last time that I checked the website, which I believe was yesterday, it's going to be like a few days later when this is actually up. But as of right now, the only one I know that's available still is the Hummingbird. This one actually sold out first, and I think that's why this is my favorite, because I could tell that this was, you know, mostly everyone's favorite because it sold out first. But I just love these purpley toned mattes with these purple shimmers. So beautiful. This matte blue with this multi-chrome and the pink is gorgeous. This grungy green area with the green and the mustardy olive green and the gold. Everything is just amazingly beautiful in this palette. And again, the shimmers are just amazing. Look at that shade Astral. Oh my god, they're just so stunning. And that one is Astral up here. Look at that. Just amazing. So yeah, I just was blown away by this collaboration. The only one I was going to pick up was the Fancy Faces palette, which is Tina. But then I kept on eyeing these two that I just picked them up like 2 days later, and I ended up picking up all three because I'm a psycho, but I was just so curious about trying all three of them, and I was like, I kind of need all three because they're so gorgeous, and I am so happy I got them because they ranked as my number 2 pick this year. So number 1, can you guess what number 1 is? This is a pretty basic palette, but it is so beautiful, and I had to rank it as number 1 because even though probably the Odin's Eye would have been number 1 for me. Hey guys, I know it's a different day. It's pretty late, but somehow I deleted the last clip of my countdown to where I revealed my number 1 eyeshadow palette that I tried in the year of 2021. So I'm here re-recording this part. I don't know how I deleted it. So my number 1 palette for the year of 2021 is the Beauty Bay 16 color Fiery palettes. The Beauty Bay Fiery 16 color eyeshadow palette. This palette was my number 1 pick for the year of 2021 because I could not get over the quality for the price that you pay for this eyeshadow palette. But I'm not just saying this because it's so affordable. I mean, I'm a little biased because it's literally $10 for literally high-end quality. Like, I even think that this, I mean, I love ColourPop so much, but as far as affordability and the amount of shades that you get in Beauty Bay, you can't beat the price. So I think that this palette is beautiful. You guys know I absolutely love warm toned eyeshadow palettes. They're my favorite things to wear. My light is blinding me. So we have 8 mattes and 8 shimmers in here. And I actually bought this originally for the summertime. And I was like, this is going to be such a beautiful warm toned palette for the summer. But literally, this is more so a fall palette for me. These shades are such beautiful, like, spicy warm tone oranges, some like rusty browns, some beautiful like reddish browns, and some beautiful chocolatey browns. And I literally love the shimmers in here as well. We have some red tone ones, some golden tones, some oranges, a bronzy one, and this deep dark brown is really beautiful as well. This palette is so gorgeous. I reached for this a ton in the last couple months of the year because I got this, I think, around in like September or October, and I used it so much. I especially used this during Thanksgiving this year. This was actually my Thanksgiving palette of choice. And I wore this a lot when my sister was here. This was the palette I was grabbing for almost every day. She was here for Thanksgiving. Because it's such an easy palette to use, and it was just so easy to get ready in a rush. If I had to like do something with my family or getting ready for Thanksgiving, like we cook all day, so I want like an easy eyeshadow look to just, you know, cook with my family all day. And the mattes in here are just super buttery smooth. The shimmers are just so stunning and metallic and very wet looking. Just you can't beat the quality of this. So I'll just swatch a couple of my favorite shades for you guys. But literally, the shades are named after like fall themed things. Like we have pumpkin spice, we have hot sauce, and we have burnt sienna. And they're just stunning. And again, the mattes are so buttery smooth. Really beautiful. They blend out so well. And I just love my eye look every single time I use this palette. And then I really love like this orangey toned shimmer. I love the golds in here. It's so gorgeous. And then we'll do like this red one, which is also a really pretty one too. So there are some of the shimmers. They're just so metallic and pretty. And I really just love these shimmers in here as well. So we have Tango, New Penny, and Ruby Slippers, which is named after Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, but just gorgeous. So yeah, I was kind of realizing that I accidentally had deleted that clip as I was uploading it. I always go through my videos before I upload them to check the video from beginning to end, just to make sure that it transferred properly to my computer, and then I upload it to YouTube. And then I saw that I had accidentally forgot to include my #1 palette, so that would have been really disappointing to upload it tomorrow, and everybody would have been like, what's your #1 palette, Caitlin? So the only thing that I would say about this is that this is an absolute perfect palette for me, but the really light shade called Peaches and Cream is a little too dark for me to use underneath my brow, but it is a beautiful transition shade, and all these like golden toned rusty brown and orangey shades are just so beautiful in the crease, and they just make the most beautiful fall look. That's why I love this palette for the fall. It's so gorgeous. And these metallics, I have to swatch this deep dark brown. It's a really beautiful brown metallic. I absolutely love this color too. Oh, they're just so good. And really, the swatches are not going to do it justice. These really just transform on the eyes to be even more metallic than they are swatched. And that shade is called Sleepwalker. And I'm going to swatch the brown too, just because I could swatch this palette for forever. Again, these shades are much richer on the eyes than they are swatched. You can build them up to be really rich and deep and beautiful. I basically swatched every single coinciding shimmer with the coinciding matte. As you can tell, red and a red, an orange and an orange, a gold and a gold, and a brown and a brown. So yeah, but it just makes the palette so easy to use, and you can use all of those coinciding shades so well together, and I've loved every single look that I've done with this palette. So yeah, I love it, and that's why it had to be #1, because again, I cannot get over the quality for the price. So yeah, that is pretty much it, you guys. Those are my top 10, really technically my top 12 palettes of the year of 2021. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I'm sorry for this like random clip at the end, but yeah, I literally didn't have a #1 palette or an outro. So yeah, please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Poshmark at the same handle. Let me know what your #1 pick was this year. What was your favorite eyeshadow palette this year? Also, did you try any of these palettes that I mentioned? What were your thoughts? We tried some really great formulas this year, some really great eyeshadows that came out, and really great eyeshadow palette collabs, and a lot of great eyeshadow palettes that came out this year. So we tried a ton of palettes. 2021 was a great year for makeup. I cannot wait to see what 2022 has in store for us. So yeah, bye!